Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. We'll celebrate the birthday of one of Springfield's most famous residents, Dr. Seuss, a little bit later in the show. They're throwing a party for him at the Springfield Museums.
Tomorrow, in fact. And for Live Music Friday, we welcome Valley band Eavesdrop to the studio. They've got a handful of 413 shows in the next couple of weeks, including one in Holyoke tomorrow night.
The Wine Thunderdome returns to the Berkshires by way of Croatia when we talk with winemaker Kreso at Dare Bottle Shop in Lenox.
Well, welcome back to the studio, Justin Cohen, a.k.a. DJ Studebaker Hawk, as we all welcome back the Sonic Swap meet known as the Northampton Record Fair.
After a long COVID-prompted hiatus, the Record Fair returns to Northampton at Union Station this Sunday from 11 to 5.
Studebaker Hawk is a DJ, producer, vinyl record dealer, and one of the members of Peace and Rhythm. Hawk spent a decade on the radio at WMUA in Amherst and cutting his teeth in Massachusetts clubs before branching out to tour in Asia and Europe, as well as South and North America and all over.
He's constantly digging for vinyl throughout his international travels to bring new jams to the dance floor and stock his Discogs shop. He's one of the top 50 biggest Discog sellers in the U.S. on that online music platform. He says Metza Metz, as my dad and my grandmother would have said, maybe a little bit. And he'll be selling records this Sunday.
Alongside a bunch of others. What's wrong with Australia? Why haven't they brought you there yet?
Yeah, actually, I love Australia.
And what's wrong with Africa?
Have you conquered all the continents?
No, there's two missing.
Some on the way. I was asked at one point to play in South Africa, and I would love to do it. I need to make it happen at some point. I do love Australia. I did play in New Zealand once.
That's not the same, and they will tell you that.
Yeah, but what continent are they part of if they're not? If they have to be a continent, it must be Australia. I've never thought about this until right now. This is going to send us on a massive tangent, so we're not going to go there. Northampton Record Fair returns this Sunday. COVID canceled it for a while there. But tell us about what this Northampton Record Fair, how it came about and what it means to the record-loving community of the Valley.
Sure. Yeah, I started it in 2015 and ran 13 of them from 2015 to 2020, the last one being March 1st, 2020.
And then what happened?
For the next couple of years?
Happened.
I don't remember.
I did do some record swaps, that as I called them, behind Thorne's Marketplace for the NOHA Arts Council. That was in the summer of 2021. Though I do like to usually travel in the summers, so I haven't been running those, and I'm excited to bring back the full fair at Union Station in the ballroom and the surrounding rooms at 125 Pleasant Street in downtown Northampton.
Although I know that you could probably stock this thing yourself. You're not the only person selling at this event. Who do you bring to this thing? Who comes to join you at it?
Yeah, 41 dealers. I am only one of the 41. And yeah, it's dealers from around the Northeast. So much of New England and, of course, coming from New York as well. Trying to think this time if we have at least one dealer coming from Pennsylvania. Nobody coming from Canada this time.
That's okay. We can get them next time.
Sure.
Tell us one thing that you have available that you're sad to see go at the Northampton Record Fair on Sunday. A piece of vinyl that is like, I can't part with it.
But somebody else will love this as much as I do.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a hard question. I'm going to pivot to something interesting only because I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I keep so many records that I often don't sell things I really like unless I come into more copies of them. I recently did get this private press, so it's made by the band originally. Oh, I should remember what year. It was definitely early 80s. A metal band from Philadelphia called Metal Wolf.
Ooh,
and
cool name.
Yeah, and it's a cool record. It's not exactly my style, though it is in high demand online, and obviously there aren't very many of them. And what's cool about it is it came with a press pack with a handwritten letter by the band to a metal radio show that I didn't know at the time. And I printed out, correspondence between the drummer and the DJ from the radio show. And it's like a whole press pack of, newspaper clippings and just stuff from the band and I had never heard of this band, and interesting to look into it and be like, wow.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay, so it can't just be record sales at this thing. Well, I guess it could, but that's probably not the case. What else happens at the Northampton Record Fair?
Well, we have DJs all day. There's 15 DJs from around the valley, and including NEPM's own Bex Taylor.
Woo! spinning vinyl.
That's right. The whole Peace and Rhythm crew will be there, as well as a lot of other fantastic DJs. There's also CDs for sale. I know that at least one vendor also has like rock T-shirts, and there could be some other paraphernalia. There could be some other merchandise, and just fun stuff. And we try to have fun. Yeah.
We're speaking with DJ Studebaker Hawk, who has revived the Northampton Record Fair, which will come back to Northampton this Sunday from 11 to 5. You have peddled in the world of vinyl for a long time, and there's going to be 40-plus vendors at this thing on Sunday. What is something that you have been looking for that you secretly hope you might find from one of those other 40 vendors that are going to be there?
Oh, there's so many things. Me personally, since I'm a DJ, I'm more than anything specific I'm looking for exciting records to spin that I don't know. Uh-huh. So when I go into people's crates, like, yeah, it's great when it's something that's like, oh, wow, like I've been hoping I'd bump into that for 10 years, but even much more so, it's like, what is this record? I don't know what this is. I hope it's good. So many times I see a record with a fantastic cover, and my first thought is just, I hope this is good. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to find out.
So a lot of like kind of trades with other record dealers who are going to be there.
When we're setting up, we're typically all hitting each other's tables and trading from each other.
Oh, I love it.
And then there is an early admission from 9 to 11. So, and then we do. At 11 o'clock, we do a raffle, and it's going to be prizes from the sponsors, from local record stores around the area, as well as 3 shopping sprees for the record fair. So 3 people will win, a shopping spree to bring around to the dealer of their choice, and be able to get records.
I think that's so cool.
But there's
I mean, we've talked about this before on the show, but the resurgence of the vinyl record and the big artifactual piece of vinyl and the art that goes along with it. I know it's been a few years since the record fair has happened, but who's coming? What's the demographic? Is it olds like, middle age and up like me, or is it, young teenagers? Who's buying these records now?
Really, I think we get a slice of every type of life. There's definitely young people. There's been I sell at a lot of vintage markets as well as record fairs, as like the ones that have been going on forever. And there's a lot of young people who come, and of course, a lot of people who've been collecting records since they were kids. A lot of people who got back into it. Maybe they sold off their records in the 90s and then got back into it 20 years later.
Yeah. I benefited from that. Everybody that I knew was getting rid of their vinyl in the 90s, all their parents, and I just took it all and then just held on to it. Yeah.
Good
then
call.
I got rid of it, and then now I'm getting it back. So, yeah, just hold on to that stuff if you've got the capacity.
What's special about this fair, since what's special about the one that you run as opposed to the ones that you go to and sell at?
I try to make it fun. A lot of it is I try to book fun DJs and they're not even all club DJs. Many of them are, but many of them are just people with cool records and who give them a chance to show them off. And I was really inspired by 2 different events to start the fair way back when. And one was a vintage market in Barcelona when I was living out there that was just all kinds of cool stuff and records and DJs. And it was just the place to go for my friend group and many others. And that, and also some markets that are put on in Somerville and in Providence, Rhode Island by What Cheer Promotions, the rock and roll yard sales.
Yeah. Is that the What Cheer Brigade comes from them too?
Oh, no, but I know they are both friendly.
And they're both from Rhode Island.
Yeah, exactly. What Cheer is kind of like a phrase in Providence.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they're run by some fantastic people, and it's always DJs or different kinds of bands that play and really interesting vendors. And I just want it to be a good time. I mean, yeah, obviously we are focused on buying and selling great records. I mean, that's definitely the biggest part of it. But it's also just, even if you're just coming to hang, everyone's invited.
Right on.
DJ Studebaker Hawk, you can come and hang this Sunday from 11 to 5 p.m. The return of the Northampton Record Fair. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Later in the show, Live Music Friday with the band Eavesdrop playing on Ray Street in Holyoke tomorrow night. And we'll drink Croatian wine with the Croatian winemaker at Dare Bottle Shop in Lenox.
But next, you'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights when you go to Dr. Seuss's 120th birthday party at the Springfield Museums tomorrow.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
And helping keep NEPM on the air. Donate now at nepm.org.
The Fabulous 413 is funded by ServiceNet, providing mental health and human services and now offering esketamine for the treatment of depression. Learn more at servicenet.org. And by UMass Amherst, where their employees work for a reason, including benefits, stability, work-life balance, and community impact. Learn more at umass.edu/UMassCareers.
We're here at the amazing world of Dr. Seuss at the Springfield Museums with the director, Kay Simpson. Thanks for having us. Tomorrow at the museums is a big day for you.
It is. It's a huge day. It's the 120th birthday party celebration for Dr. Seuss.
Now, I think most people who are listening to this show and who have lived in this area probably know that Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel, has connections to Springfield. But let's talk a little bit about that for people who might not know. Tell us what his connection is, how long he lived here, and all that.
Sure. Well, Theodore Seuss Geisel was born in Springfield in 1904. And he grew up here. Part of what this museum is all about is tracing his roots in Springfield and really looking at what might have influenced his books and his illustrations and his entire framework in terms of his philosophy on life.
The architecture of Springfield and other things have worked their way into the books of Seuss.
The Armory, which is now part of MGM Springfield, that kind of castellated structure you see in a lot of his books. Mm-hmm. The Barney Mausoleum in Forest Park with the winding staircase and the sort of exotic feel to it. You see that reflected in the books of Dr. Seuss. The Springfield that he grew up in was filled with very eclectic Victorian architecture. Historians have long thought that that was very important in terms of forming his aesthetic.
There's a connection with the Forest Park Zoo and Yertle the Turtle, I believe, as well?
Absolutely. Ted's father was the superintendent of Forest Park for many, many years. Ted and his father would go to the park every day. He grew up in Forest Park, and he would bring his notebook with him, and he would draw pictures of the animals that he saw. That was the genesis for some of those lovable characters that we know from his books.
Tomorrow is Springfield native Ted Theodore Geisel, Dr. Seuss's 120th birthday. Now, I know you've had sculptures in the quadrangle for a good long time that represent some of the characters of Dr. Seuss, but I remember...
Necessary sign saying don't climb on these.
Don't climb on them. They want to be climbed on, but I don't think you should maybe. How old is this now, this specific part of the Springfield Museums?
We opened in 2017.
And I did a connecting point piece with New England Public Media with it when you were opening here.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug for that great show.
Shameless plug.
The room that we're in right now is a room celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we have on view is Dr. Seuss's birthday book. Ted Geisel and his parents faithfully, really it was his mother, let's be real, who faithfully charted all of the important moments of his childhood. So we have the book on display, and people who come into this space can sit down on a bench and actually see on a screen the pages of the book turning.
How much of his life does it track?
It is up to through his high school years.
What are some of the moments from the book that stand out to you, looking through the years of his life?
His first day at school, for example, when he was 10 years old, he had a birthday party. And it's amazing because back in the day, in newspapers, if a child had an event like that, you would have a small article potentially in the newspaper that talked about the party and who went to the party.
Wow, we think newspapers are slow now.
And it just keeps saying, received many gifts and had a pleasant day. Like, nothing extra special.
You gotta get into some of the specifics. What were those gifts?
Well, the birthday book is just filled with information. For example, that was actually the page that showed his signature and how it evolved over time. There's report cards, and one year he did very badly at phys ed. And then, I love the page where it talks about him going to dancing classes at the Hotel Kimball, and he really hated his dancing classes. And I don't think he enjoyed his piano classes that much more.
He was too busy wanting to go back to Forest Park Zoo and draw the animals.
Down at the bottom it says, dislike music so much, and I'm like, oh, I feel wounded.
I know, who dislikes music? Dr. Seuss.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
And we're here at the Seuss Museum at the Springfield Museums. Tomorrow would have been Dr. Seuss's 120th birthday, and you're going to have all sorts of celebrations throughout the course of the day, right?
We are, and it is one of our biggest and most well-attended days of the year. We will have Mr. Vinny doing a bubble party. You can create your own headdress with a piece of cake on it, for example. You can meet the Cat in the Hat, and then you can have a cupcake.
I heard that this place was packed over February vacation, which is great. And now field trips coming back. We are, even here today seeing some of the field trips around here. What's some of the reaction that you get from, grown-ups and or kids about Seuss's connection to this city?
People love it. It really fosters pride in the community. Dr. Seuss is beloved all over the world. So having someone who has that kind of global reputation come from Springfield, I think has incredible meaning for the community.
When did he decide he was a doctor?
That was when he was in college at Dartmouth. And he took that on because there was a point in time when there was a sort of discipline problem, and he still wanted to write for the college newspaper, so he had to have an alternate name.
So he took Dr. Seuss?
He took Dr. Seuss, of course, his mother's maiden name.
Then Dr. John and Dr. Dre followed in his footsteps.
D-R-E. Dr. Dre.
Dr. Teeth as well. I don't believe he's a real doctor. Actually, he is if you watch Mayhem. Anyway.
Yes. We are so fortunate to be the beneficiaries of the estate of Dr. Seuss. The family has given us this incredible collection of original artwork and memorabilia. This is the furniture that he had in his house. So we are really, really excited to be able to share this with the public.
He left Springfield, and the West Coast was where he spent most of his time when he was writing the famous books, right?
Absolutely, but he would say that it was his roots in Springfield that were a great source of inspiration for him.
Is it true that East Hampton is Whoville, and that the Summit House looking down on East Hampton is where the Grinch lives, and that's the inspiration for it?
Well, that's just one story. Other people speculate that it's actually Maple Street. He never cleared up that mystery, so
it's good to leave the mystery.
Yeah, it's
But it's
left.
also fun to pretend you're part of the mystery.
It's left to our speculation. It's part of the fun of it. This entire floor is really dedicated to the family collections. It's really a glimpse into the personal life of the man who sat behind the desk.
Is this the only Seuss museum?
It's the only Seuss museum in the world. Again, something Springfield can be really proud of.
Yeah.
Speaking of the man behind the desk, I mean, this is his actual drawing desk. This is the chair he sat in. That's the phone that he used when he was calling his publishers in New York City. Of course, kids come into this space now and they don't know what that is. They don't
A telephone?
A telephone. And those are his actual eyeglasses. So how much more personal can you get than this?
Maybe a personalized license plate. That was a segue you could drive a truck with a personalized license plate through. There has been a movement to try to get, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Dr. Seuss license plates. Tell us what's going on with the license plate campaign.
We are so excited. We are so very, very close to meeting the target of 750 plate signups. That is what we need to put the cat on the road. So we are almost there. So during the birthday party celebration, we are encouraging people to sign up so we can meet our goal. And it's such a cute plate. It has the beloved and adorable Cat in the Hat image on the plate, and it also says SeussInSpringfield.org, which of course is our website.
Are those license plates ultimately a fundraiser for the museum, or they're just a way to celebrate Dr. Seuss's legacy?
They are a fundraiser for the museums. This is something that's going to provide a stream of revenue that will be continuous. The more people that sign up, the more the revenue will be. And that's one of the reasons we're so excited, because it really is a way of supporting our literacy efforts here at the Springfield Museums, and most specifically in the amazing world of Dr. Seuss.
You just need the initial push, because once it's in production, it just stays in production, correct?
It stays in production, and we get the opportunity to work with car dealerships on really promoting the plates. When you go into the registry, you'll see the specialty plate listed. That's not something that you can do until you have that sign up of 750 people.
So if you want the Cat in the Hat license plate, where do you go to sign up and be part of the 750 to make it happen?
Michelle Murphy from the Springfield Museums.
You go to our website, springfieldmuseums.org.
Michelle, I'd love it if you could share some of the testimonials that you've been seeing when people sign up for plates, people that have written poetry about getting this plate.
They try to do it in Seussical rhyme.
That's what I was going to say.
You cannot imagine. Honestly, I guess Seuss has inspired so many. How many people have replied in Seuss rhyme? But Kay may be referring to something that has been happening with this latest burst of orders. Many are from educators. And one woman in particular, I asked her why she ordered this plate, and she says, I'm a teacher. I would love to have this on my car in the parking lot of my school, because I use Seuss books all the time at home. I use them all the time in school. It'll be just a constant reminder of the value of literacy.
Driving with the cat. Oh, the places you'll go.
We actually just got word from the museums that they hit their 750 request goal today, but that doesn't mean that you can't or shouldn't still get yours. Again, find more information on the Springfield Museums website or at the birthday celebration itself.
Up next, a mononym winemaker from Croatia enters a Thunderdome of his own making at Dare Bottle Shop in Lenox.
He has a last name.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
You'll see.
Oh, okay. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We are back at our Berkshire wine tasting home for the Tina Turner Memorial Wine Thunderdome at Dare Bottle Shop and Provisions in Lenox with Mary Dare. Where's Ben Dare?
He'll be here in a little bit.
You're opening a new store. So your new store is open as of today.
Right, exactly. Opening day.
Where is it?
We're at 28 Railroad Street in Great Barrington.
Has anybody made the joke about Double Dare yet?
Yes, we did consider it.
Just checking.
The most daringly different show on television, Double Dare.
Don't want to leave that joke on the table.
There might be slime falling, down from when you walk into the new shop on that opening day.
I just don't know.
And we are very pleased to be joined by a couple of other special guests here at Dare Bottle Shop and Provisions. What's your name?
I'm Kreso.
Kreso. Do you have a last name, or is it like Madonna?
It's kind of like that.
It is.
I feel like I knew Kreso for years before I knew his last name.
I'm a caricature of myself, I guess.
But I love that. You don't even need to say your last name. I don't want to know your last name.
Yeah.
Kreso.
It's a double-edged sword being able to be found on Google, just saying.
Yeah. And what's your name?
I'm Adam.
Do you have a last name, Adam?
I do. It's Eisenberg. I work for Olmsted Wine, based out of Boston and Massachusetts, and I'm in wholesale wine distribution, and mostly focusing or exclusively focusing on so-called natural wine. So that's a rabbit hole term, but really best to think of it as like a non-interventionalist wine. So wines that have very little manipulations, both in the vineyard and in the cellar. So the whole organic, biodynamic, native yeast, low to no sulfur. These are the general rubrics for this sort of genre of wine, which is again a raw, unmessed with, direct expression of the vineyard to the glass is the ideal.
Kreso.
Tell us about yourself. I've been working in wine for many years, being in New York importing market for last 18 years. But since 2016, I also made wines. one which is in my dad's cellar. Since 2016 we started that. In 2020 I opened Vinas Mora, and I'm the winemaker at both places, and I also help other wineries and winemakers.
This is our first Thunderdome with a winemaker.
Yeah, you're the first winemaker we've had on. Where are you making the wines?
In Croatia, in one part in the north and one part in the south. So what we will taste today are two different terroirs.
Tell us a little bit about the wine culture of Croatia before we dig into these wines.
Wine culture of Croatia is very old. It was chosen to be one of the great terroirs by the Greeks and the Roman emperors. Geologically, looking at the area, it's extremely interesting to produce wine. It's a part of the Pannonian Sea, Alpine terroir, also the Adriatic Sea, which makes a very diverse territory to produce many different kind of wines. Politically, it was very dominated by choices of communist era. A lot of, I would say, small production wines or a variety of wines could not be produced. Before that system, there was a lot more diversity in wine. That was stopped for 40 years, and that's why now you see a lot of rebirth of small production wine. We produce in the north. We have some vineyards that are 120 years old with varieties that are still native, only grown in this area. Those grapes that are native adapt much better. They produce results. Doing something new takes a lot of cultivation and often doesn't bring as good of results.
So, speaking with the winemaker of these wines in this Thunderdome at Dare Bottle Shop Provisions in Lenox, Kreso. What's the first one of these wines that you made that we're going to taste?
So the first wine is actually coming from my dad's winery in the north of Croatia, next to the capital of Zagreb. It's a appellation called Plješivica. These are these rolling hills that go from Styria, Slovenia, that come all the way through to the end of the Slovenian border and continue to a little bit over to Croatian side. Cold climate, post-alpine terroir that has this opok soil, which is this form of plates and collision of limestone and clay. Very old varieties here, vineyards that are up to 120 years old. There's 13 varietals of those grapes in those two vineyards. Not to name it, but it doesn't make any sense because they're just, nobody ever heard of them, except for people in my village.
Say it, because it's fun to hear them.
Šipalj, Rumeni plavec, Kraljevina, things like that. Varieties that also I really often don't know, but they give you a very unique profile. So that's about 40% of this wine. 60% of the wine is Pinot Gris, which again comes from the tradition of the planting from the old era, and it's traditionally really well adapted here, which is essentially a red variety. We always think of Pinot Gris as white grape, which is produced massively in most Italy and as white grape, but it essentially is a red variety. And when grown on limestone and really poor soil, it gives you these incredible results that are even more red. So those are blended together. It's essentially what we call an orange wine today, or a skin macerated wine aged in oak. And that's it. And I think it's a very unique wine. I think the only one produced in this style in the world.
And it's made by you.
That's it. My dad mainly, but I have my second winery. I can't afford to run both. I used to, in this harvest I did not, but I used to run on a plane between one and the other, and I used to finish the day here, go on a plane, jump here, and then come back in the plane the next day. It was absurd.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is this your dad on the label?
No.
It is a cool label.
Yeah, but this is actually an old Croatian art called naive, which is this very Croatian style, and it portrays the era of the uprising of the farmers in the 1700s. But it's also, these wines are very folkloric to me.
It smells like barnyard and strawberries.
Yeah, people think of single vineyards as something that was around for a long time, but in some ways it's a little more of a contemporary idea to have a single vineyard and a single expression, whereas the first wine here is really a window into how people probably drank wine for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, it's a field blend.
How are American markets feeling about Croatian wine? It's an ancient history of winemaking, but as far as this country goes, it's not one of the top countries that jumps to mind when people think about wine.
Honestly, it's been kind of electric. Croatia or Central Europe in general kind of represents sort of the romanticism that people, let's say my parents' generation, had about post-World War II Western Europe. There was a sense of discovery in American audiences in the 1960s and 70s about the wine culture over there. I think a similar thing is sort of happening with countries like Croatia. I think the American wine drinker is the most adventurous wine drinker there is. They're open to so many different expressions, unlike almost anywhere else in the world.
Go us.
We're good at something.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I wouldn't have expected that. I think we'd have all the McDonald's of wine. Kinuk, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
That's what it says on the label, so if you're looking for this at Dare,
if you read it back, it says König, and König was the first wine to be produced at our winery. It's kind of a dialect for König, which is king in German. We made this first wine, he tried it and he was screaming, König, König. He said, this is, you're a king, Then this wine came, because we had this wine in the cellar, we didn't know what we were going to call it, and I told my dad, you need to bottle this wine. And I said, it's the first tank next to the door. And he, of course, bottled the wrong one. Often these kind of things happen with my dad.
What do you think about this first wine here, Mary Dare?
I'm a big fan of this wine. I just think it has such a lovely, savory aspect. There's some beautiful fruit, like you guys were picking up on the strawberry perfectly, and it's just delicious. It's lip-smacking.
Pinot Gris or Pinot Grigio is probably one of the most famous popular grapes in America. I mean, Santa Margarita being like a wine that almost every American at some point has had a glass of. And it's super, super clear. And Pinot Gris or Grigio is actually like red-skinned grape, and so like it always blows my mind that like growing up in America, like wow, this is Pinot Grigio.
I guess I always thought the Pinot Grigio must be a white grape because it's almost always white or clear and tastes like water. It's the most boring grape in the world, in my opinion. But what is the other grape again? This indigenous to Croatian grape?
There are about 13
13,
there are 13 of them.
Wine number 2 in this Wine Thunderdome at Dare Bottle Shop and Provisions in Lenox, who today will open up their Double Dare shop in Great Barrington.
Who could double dare them back, and then they could take the physical challenge.
We're here with the winemaker from Croatia.
Kreso.
Tell us about Vinas Mora.
Vinas Mora is a project it was a project because I intended to produce a place rather than a winery. I intended to make an appellation system for wine growers in our region because historically it was the most important red wine region in the entire Balkan era. It is 15 kilometers of these extremely special soils and one of the most unique extreme vineyards on earth, and it was famous to produce some of the finest wines. Those wines were sold out to the world for hundreds of years to support wines of Burgundy to be blended into the wines of Italian regions, etc. The cooperative that was in charge of this entire appellation was abandoned in 2020, and I got a call from them to say that they've heard that I was there in the area, and I already imported somebody's wine, and asked me if I wanted to take over the whole project, and which is a huge role. It's a historic position in order to be in charge of one area of such quality, and I argued, that I don't have time and all this, and I lost. We took over and we started Vinas Mora. Luckily, on the first vintage, we made the right choices, and the wine was really well received all around the world. It's not because of us, because the place is really unique, and only one place like this in the world exists.
Sounds like the curse of competence, going in and knowing what you're talking about, and then they're like, oh, you can do it. You know what's happening here. Why don't you be in charge? You're like, no, but you know what you're doing.
If you want something done, ask a busy person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't like that phrase.
It's true. It's sadly very true.
Until now, and yeah.
Let them be more busy.
So let's taste the second one. Andres,
yes. We have the common line, which is our immediate territory, all grown on extremely dense limestone without any topsoil. So this is basically like growing vines on Mount Everest without the snow. The main variety where we do all our work is Babić, from 0 meters to 450 meters. Andres is a vineyard that is surrounded by the sea, therefore the blue label.
It's an incredible coastal spot. I mean, it's got the bluest water you're going to find on planet Earth, next to like super cute villages built up on little hills. It's picturesque.
This is delicious.
In some ways, it reminds me of an Italian, but it doesn't have the leather.
Good one. It's good.
Yeah. but it still has a little bit of that cherry thing happening. It's
like this neat little mineral burst at the end, like it hits right the top of the palate. It's real cool.
That's precisely
what you call high-functioning alcohol.
And the cherry-esque nose, maybe, I hate to say Italian, but it seems like it reminds a lot of people of some Italian wines. It's something between Pinot Noir and Syrah in a sense, rather than a Merlot, Cabernet, or Zinfandel, which is a traditional variety that's grown here.
Zinfandel probably came from Croatia, right?
It is.
And then maybe to Italy and then to the West Coast.
Correct.
What's the Croatian name for Zinfandel? I forget.
Seljena Kaštelanski.
That is much longer.
Did you grow up surrounded by wine?
Yeah.
Has your dad been making wine in the garage your whole life?
Yes. There's not much to do when you grow up in a village I was actually growing up in Slovenia, so I was really interested very early in wine. I started tasting wine at 12 years old. My dad involved me in the competition. They had an association of wine growers, and they were always arguing whose wine is better, so they made a competition, and since then, I was involved into every competition and judging the wines.
Wow.
And by the age of 13, 14, I started to go out, and every money I get, I would spend it in a local wine shop, and I would buy the best bottle I could possibly do, and then drink it on the weekend. And it was kind of crazy. And it is crazy now talking about it, but then it was
less crazy now because this is what you do professionally. It just seems like if you were a little kid, you were
talking in the U.S. concept. Like at 14, I was really drinking wine on a regular basis.
Like, 14.
It was kind of nuts. We were going out to bars, and there was a nightclub, and the only reason why I went to a nightclub because I had a wine list, and not to the dance floor, but to the restaurant that had a wine list. And then I orchestrated this whole night around me ordering bottles, and it never changed until now. It's still the same.
I mean, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's great. Right? Yeah, I've been very consistent.
What do you think of the second wine, Mary Dare?
I think it's fabulous. It really does. It harkens of that northern Italian charm. With one sip, it's hard to resist. You just really want to dive in and learn more about this place, and I just think it's fabulous. I think this one might be my favorite out of the two.
She's already voted. Mary Dare. I vote as well for the second wine, the Andres. We went right to the voting. Adam, you have to vote.
Oh, well, I guess I'm a little biased, but I think the second wine, yes, as everyone has already said, is it's got this soulfulness to it. It's like a smoky, sour black cherry. It's just got this Mediterranean, all the herbs you smell down there when you're in the Mediterranean. You can really imagine the roasted lamb over the pit with the herbs, and which is a great pairing for this thing. It's a serious wine, and it's amazing because it really has like an old soul, but it's really beautiful in its youth. Andreas for me as well.
Well, that was great because my vote doesn't matter, so I'm going to vote for the Hinook.
Okay, good.
I like it. There's something about the rustic charm of it, and as we have mentioned before, I am on a Porsche drinker kick.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I'm a folklore guy, so.
Kreso voted for wine one of your own wines.
Yes.
We're sorry to make it's like having to choose which child you like best.
If you didn't vote for your dad, you'd find out. It's like, I heard you didn't vote for my wine.
I don't want to get canceled. This wine was voted by Vogue magazine the best orange wine of the year by 10 of the strongest sommeliers.
Wow.
Delise and the winemaker. Vote with the people of Vogue.
Accidentally populist.
Yeah, no one better than Vogue.
Thanks again. That was so great.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
We learned a lot. I learned a lot about Croatian wine.
The more interesting wine regions, the better. There's so many places that grow. It's just nice to open up your eyes to what else is out there.
Hi. Better late than never.
Hi,
Hey, how are you?
What do you think about Croatian wine there, Bender?
I have to sample them again.
Skeptical French have spoken. That's the right way to go.
Thanks and congratulations to our friends Ben and Mary Dare on the opening of their new Great Barrington store today.
It's Friday, which means it's Live Music Friday here in. Up next, we welcome the band Eavesdrop, who are playing Race Street in Holyoke tomorrow night.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Clee Smith. It's Live Music Friday, and we welcome to the studio the band Eavesdrop. Originating as an acoustic trio, Kara Wolf, Laura Buchanan, and Carrie Wirt maintain their vocal roots and continue to shape their sound through collaborative songwriting.
With over 7 years of writing, performing, and touring together, these Western Mass natives have honed a special sound that brings the listener in and surrounds them with a powerful combination of intricate harmonies, contagious melodies, and moving rhythms.
Their latest self-titled EP, Eavesdrop, has found their sonic home, incorporating some of the Valley's finest musicians, but we're joined right now by the original trio for Live Music Friday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Shall we hear a song?
Yes.
We shall.
All right, very good.
We're going to, you played a little bit of it just now, but we're going to play a song that we just released on New Year's Day. It's called Honest.
It's taken some time for me to get here. I admit, trading these heartstrings for simpler things just might fit. Then you showed up, cool finesse. You slipped right on me like a brand new dress. With stars in my eyes, you got me so obsessed. I'm feeling you now, but if I'm being honest, I don't know how to love you. I'm still learning how to love myself. And to tell you the truth, only time will tell. We'll find our way somehow. But I can't be yours now. It's hard to deny the things you want and accept what you need. Take a long, hard look at where I am and how I came to be here. I hear you loud and clear, but where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? And if I'm being honest, I don't know how to love you. I'm still learning how to love myself. And to tell you the truth, I wanna do, but only time will tell. We'll find our way somehow. And I'm just trying to be honest. I don't know how to love you. I'm still learning how to love myself. And to tell you the truth, I wanna do, but only time will tell. You'll find me there somehow. But I can't be yours now. I can't be yours
Eavesdrop, this Live Music Friday here in the fabulous 413, playing Ray Street in Holyoke tomorrow night, amongst a bunch of other shows in the area in the 413. So we could have you in multiple times, I guess, because you're doing Hot Plate, one of our favorite places to go in Pittsfield next week. You're at another big brewery in Charlton that has an analog here in Deerfield, as well as the Egremont Barn coming up a little bit later next month. Tell us how this trio formed.
Well, it was sort of a little bit of an organic thing. Laura and Carrie go way back. They had a duo back in high school, right?
Yep. Oh, so you're the first member of this ever-expanding group, it seems.
Yeah, and Laura and I met sort of on stage. We were at a show, and folks just kind of pulled us up there, and they were like, hey, we got to both sing, and we met each other kind of on stage in some ways. And it just, we went to the right harmonies without having to really communicate, and it just, we were like, we should probably
Who pulled you on stage to turn this into a band?
Our our partners at the time.
Okay. We don't need to delve any deeper than that. Enough said. No comments. We shall move on. But then this trio then...
Life evolves. Things change.
Betsy, our engineer, who's a big record collector and CD collector and was just with Studebaker Hawk going crazy about Discogs and all that sort of thing, brought in an original trio CD for you to sign.
I'm so excited about that.
But you've expanded. If you go to the website, there's lots of members of the band, right?
Yeah. So what changes when you're writing from like stuff for the trio and stuff for the larger band? Because you've got, like keys and drums and another guitarist and a whole bassist and more.
I guess really nothing really changes too much in terms of our trio format. We perform a lot of the songs kind of in this format as well as the full band, but you can just be more imaginative when you have more sounds to work with, right? So we can, consult the band and say we're looking for these types of vibes. We want some. Put a little sprinkle in here, put a little magic in here, and kind of tone in the sounds,
or put in a solo so we don't have to play 30 songs in a night.
That too.
Extended solo so we can round out the 60-minute set.
Give you a little bit of space to catch your breath because, sometimes that's just a little bit hard.
But you're rounding out the sound. Like, it sounds like there's like percussion in here because you're kind of one person banding it right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Laura Buchanan, everybody.
Laura Buchanan, yeah. So what are you doing? Like, play for us what are you doing right there?
So I have a stomp box. This guy right here. This is called a Bigfoot, and it's literally just a wooden plank with an XLR cable in it, and then it goes through a bass amp. And so it gives us a little momentum when we're in the trio format. I also have a foot tambourine on my other foot, so I'm kind of back and forth with both feet. Looks like I'm a duck underwater,
I think Bert from Mary Poppins.
I always say that. She's Dick Van Dyke. I always say that, Monty, for real.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the radio. Well, we want to hear another song. Maybe we should, I think we're probably going to run out of time, so should we just tell everybody what's going to happen next week and then just hear one more from Eavesdrop? What do you want to do? I think let's do that.
Yeah.
So next week on the Fabulous 413, we're going to gear up for the Back Porch Festival with Jim Olson of Signature Sounds. We'll have Live Music Friday next week with Dennis Cromit, who you can see at that festival.
We'll explore a local connection to The Great Gatsby with author Mickey Rathburn.
We'll prep for the Holyoke St. Patrick's Day Parade. It's not with Girls Inc. That's not correct. We'll also have Girls Inc.
We'll discuss one of the coolest, fastest glow-ups with Terry on a tank ball of Tank and the Bangas.
We'll look at local recent developments surrounding ceasefire resolutions.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll dip into some Oscar predictions, even though I haven't really seen any of those movies.
Playing tomorrow night at Race Street in Holyoke. Live Music Friday. One more from Eavesdrop.
Start driving up north, just slow will to know my body, taking the view, breathing the new air, play hide and seek with grief, wake with a clear head, a moment of escape. It's time to prepare.
And it hits me all at once. This is the rest of my life. A constant ache, but mountains don't rise without earthquakes.
Take what's ours, carve it into stone. Take what's left, remember my name, and carry me home.
If we don't write our own story, our absence surely will. So let's raise a little hell all at once. This is the This is the rest of my life, a twist of fate, but mountains don't rise without earthquakes. And it hits me all at once. This is the rest of my life. I'll bend and break, but mountains don't rise without earthquakes. Oh, oh, all at once. There's no time to waste. Mountains don't rise.
Woo! Eavesdrop playing at Ray Street in Holyoke tomorrow night. If you missed them there and you're listening in the Berkshires and you're going to go see them in Pittsfield, they'll be there next Saturday at Hot Plate. They'll be at Treehouse on March 30th and the Eggerman Barn on April 6th. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
And frankly, it is Bandcamp Friday, and even though you can't find this particular band on Bandcamp, you can go to their website and get their debut self-titled album, second album. Your second album, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a good time to support local musicians, so if you have the opportunity, head over to their website, find out all the dates that they're playing, and grab a little bit of their music. Support your local artists.
Or if you're friends with one of our engineers, Betsy Lankto, you might be able to find their original first album.
Yeah, but she's going to sell that at a markup because now it's
going to get autographed by the band. A big thank you to Betsy Lankto, as well as our engineer Bart Rankin in the studio with us, mixing the live music and make them sound great.
And punk rock Sharp Cheddar Dubé for helping make all of that happen too.
As well as Kara Foster and the inimitable Tony Dunn, who's been pulling double duty on producing local shows here at NEPM today. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll see you next week on the Fabulous 413.